Okay, so this video is about classes. So this is the first lesson, and it's important that you follow them through in order. It's the first lesson in Object Orientated Programming. So obviously in the link below, you'll find the article, the worksheet, where I have some things for you to read and exercises at the end. So firstly, why do we use OOP? Well, the main reason we'll use, as you'll see, is that it allows us to not repeat ourselves. This acronym DRY, don't repeat yourself. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create the class, create class properties or members, which will be global variables, and then how to create a constructor, and then also how to initialize the class. So and we're going to do this using the example of a vehicle, and everything I'm saying here will be in this article, also the code as well. Once you finish this, there's a couple of article exercises at the end. One, you need to fill in accelerate and decelerate functions. How are they going to work? And the other one is to basically create some more classes, but for different types of objects with different properties. To give you a bit of practice at creating them, because this is a difficult topic, and some people find it hard to get the hang of it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create, I made that a little bit bigger, so it's quite very visible. We're going to create class for an object and a group of objects. This is the best way to teach this. And what we need to think about is everything in the world around you is an object, right? It's a type of class. Everything has it has functions and it has properties. So for example, this mouse, it has properties, color, shape, weight, and it also has functions like left click, right click, mouse wheel, move around. And in the same way, you could model a vehicle. So we're going to create a class and use the key name class called vehicle. And this class is going to have two properties. It's going to have, so we open the brackets and we close the brackets, and everything about this class is going to be contained within those brackets. So it's going to have two, let's call them public properties for now. One's going to be called current speed, and the other one is going to be called top speed, right? So every vehicle in the world has a current speed and a top speed. Doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is, a bus, a car, a bicycle, but those are common properties between them. So when you're creating classes, you should really try and think about the properties that are common between that kind of an object. So then we need to create a constructor, and the constructor is a special function. It doesn't return anything, but it has the same name as the class, so it's going to be called vehicle. And then it has one parameter, top speed. Why only one parameter? Because we don't need to, we always know that the current speed when we create a vehicle is going to be 0. So we're going to set current speed to be 0. Often you'll see a notation like this dot, when you're creating initializing properties of a class, because sometimes, as it is the case here, the parameters of the constructor are the same name as the property of the class, but they're not the same variable, they're different. So if I did top speed here equals top speed, the compiler will get confused. It won't know it will think that I'm trying to set this local parameter to be the local parameter. So we need to tell it by using this dot that that we're referring to the property of the class top speed. Other ways you could do it is you could have like sort of p top speed, and then you don't need this, but you just need to have the top speed. So like that. And then the compiler can tell that this parameter is different to this property, and therefore you're able to set it. But this is probably the most common way you'll see it. In OCR, some of their questions, they use parameter names in constructors like this, p top speed, and then you're literally just setting the top speed equal to that parameter value. So that's how they'll often use it. So let's try and stick with their notation. But if you do see this dot, it's because they're trying to refer to this property that belongs to that class, right? So quick recap, we've got a class vehicle, it's got two properties, and it's got a constructor now, which we're going to call when we create an object or an instance of this class, and we're going to initialize it with just a top speed, but it will have a current speed. Also, property classes have functions as well. What two things can all vehicles do? Well, they can accelerate. So we create a function called accelerate. Accelerate needs a speed that which we're going to accelerate by. So we'll have a parameter speed. And then inside of here, this is an exercise that you're going to have to do in a minute. You're going to need to write the code to accelerate the vehicle. Okay. And then we've got another function, public void. It's not going to return anything. Decelerate. And maybe we need to pass in how much we're going to decelerate the speed by as well. When you're writing these functions, here's some notes, which you come on to later. What should the accelerate method do? It should increase the current speed by this, whatever this speed is, but check that it doesn't exceed the top speed, right? And the same for the decelerate function, but it should decrease the current speed by that speed parameter, but ensure that it does not go below 0. So that's for you to do in a minute. The last thing that we need to look at is how do we then use this class to create objects or instances, I call them, of the class. Well, we go back up into our main program, which is in and we go to the main function that is in our class program. So this is all we've had before. We've only ever had one class before, a class program with a main function that you've created other functions for. But now we've created a completely new type of class, a new object that's never existed before, and it's called vehicle. We're going to use vehicle. We're going to create a variable of type vehicle. We could, and then we're going to say new, because we are creating a new instance or new object of vehicle. And we're going to pass in a top speed of this car. So that's quite fast, actually, isn't it? 250 miles an hour. So we've now created a vehicle that's called car that has a top speed of 150. What we can do with this now is we can use this variable, this object that we've created, to access what our current speed is. So I'm going to just print this out. So I'm going to write car dot top speed, so current speed, and then I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to write car dot top speed. And because these variables here are public, we're able to access them and get their values. We're also able to change them as well. So if I write car current speed equals 10, and then I print this out, as you can imagine, it's going to print out 10 instead of 0. And I could do the same for top speed as well, car dot top speed, like this. Let's change the top speed to 3,000 miles an hour. Now that's a bit too fast, isn't it? But we're able to change these properties of this class, accessing them through the object car with this dot notation. So car dot and then the property, and then we're going to assign it new values, and we're able to change those values in the class. So in the next video on encapsulation, where we change this from public to private, you'll see that because we don't really want a programmer coming in here and accidentally changing the current speed. The only way we want the current speed really to be changed is when we accelerate or when we decelerate. And we also don't want someone in here coming and changing the top speed, because that could lead to your car accelerating or decelerating way too fast. And we will do that in the next tutorial where we make these private. But that's all we need to do for now. So we're just creating a type of class with a constructor that takes in the top speed, initializes the other variable to 0, and then we've got these two functions. So this is what I want you to have a go at programming in a minute. How are you going to write the code to accelerate and decelerate it? And you'll see that linked in this article below here. And then once you've done that, create some other types of objects, so such as one for building, and then maybe think of some other things that you could create as objects as well, like roads or furniture. I'm going to actually show you the solution to this. So if you don't want to see the solution to accelerate, decelerate, and you want to have a go, pause the video and come back to it. So well, what's the first thing I said we've got to do? These are the things that we need to do. We should increase the current speed by the speed parameter, but we need to check it's a short top speed. So we're going to use an if statement. We're going to say if let's say the current speed plus equals, so we're going to add something on the speed. So we're literally just going to add on speed to the current speed. But then we need to check this. If current speed, if it is greater than the top speed, then we're going to have to reduce the current speed to be the top speed. So we can't go any faster than that, right? So this is the check that we need to do. Maybe you want some feedback in as well. I do a little console.writeLine and say, you cannot go faster than the top speed. All right, and then the decelerate function, how are we going to solve that? So obviously, hopefully you've had a go at this before you've watched the solution. That's what you're meant to do. We should decrease the current speed. So current speed minus equals by speed. And then we need to check it. We can't have a current speed that's less than 0. You can't go at negative speed. Reversing isn't a negative speed. It would be a speed. But so we need to check, is that greater than or equal to 0? Okay, no, if it's less than 0, so if it's negative, then the current speed equals 0. We just reset it back to 0. You can't go slower than that. So that's what decelerate and accelerate should do. And then how do we call those from our program? Well, we go back up to here, and we're going to just call the function through this object car. Okay, this is going to cause some problems, so we'll do it before. We just write the name of the object car, and then we call accelerate, and then we need to pass in, say, a sensible number like that, and then car dot decelerate. We're going to pass in a sensible number like that, and then we're going to print the current speed. However, like if we did these now, you can see that if we're actually changing the current speed outside of accelerate, decelerate, which is why we're going to need to make these private, because we don't want that. We only want those functions to really change those speeds. So if I run this now, just see what happens. You'll see it bring out the current speed and top speed, then it will accelerate by 10, decelerate by 10. Actually, that's going to print 0, because if we accelerate by 10 and decelerate by 10, let's just change that to 20. Let's go, it prints current speed 0, 150, it prints 0 for that, then changes the current speed, prints that out as current speed 10, and then changes the top speed, prints it out as 3000. Obviously, this has worked, but would make more sense in this example if we'd if we just printed out what the current speed of what's there, and then we print out what the current speed is there, then you can see how it's accelerating by 20, and then we decelerate by 10, so its current speed will be 10. But then we're hacking the current speed here, which we don't want to do. And there you go. If you can see that print out there, 0, 150, 20, and then it accelerates to 20, and then it reduces by 10. And then we're changing the current speed to 10, printing that out, changing the top speed to that and printing that out. So that's all you need to do for introduction to classes. We've created a vehicle class with properties, current speed, top speed, a constructor, and then two functions, accelerate and decelerate, that you should have had a go at writing. So watch the next video to learn about encapsulation, where we make these private, so they're not able to be changed here.